Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rakhma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Today's Memorial Day celebration 295. And our call-in number is 646-200-4169, and press 1 to talk to Michael. And I'm going to welcome Michael to the show, and Dr. Tim is with us, and we already have 2 callers. Hello, Michael.
Awesome. Well, it's going to be a hot Monday. That's fabulous. We're delighted that everybody's with us. Dr. Tim, how was your weekend, sir?
Very good, thank you. Very, very nice.
Well, we've had a busy weekend. We started out, we finished a workshop series in Boca at the Science of Mind Church, and then on Saturday morning, we started a Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing workshop with a dozen and a half people or so, and then finished up at about 6:30 and got on the road after having something to eat by 9:30 and pulled into town about an hour and a half out of Tampa, about 1 in the morning, and started at 9:30 yesterday morning with a Sunday service at Unity in North Tampa. So that's where we'll be all week. We did 2 services yesterday and then a Y workshop, and we came home and just let it all down and let go. Sort of vegged out, and we're ready to go again tonight. We'll be doing the next 5 nights at Unity in North Tampa. Tonight's on Creating Consciously. We'll be doing Healing Through Relationships, Naturopathic Keys to Health, Codependence. So we've got lots lined up here in Tampa. Then we head to Sarasota for a 3-day kind of mini intensive weekend. So lots happening here. My voice is recovering. I was a little hoarse this morning. You can maybe hear a little bit of that in my voice yet. It's been an intense journey, and we had about 5 days off after 30 days of straight workshops, and we're just back on go again. So let's see what our callers have to say. Jeannie, you want to welcome the first one?
Yes. Area code 502, you're on the air.
502, welcome to the show. Give us the name. Where are you calling from?
Oh, they just disappeared. Okay, so 502, try to call back in. Let's do it again. So the next one is area code 702. You're on the air.
702 sounds like top wages. Hello, 702. You're on the show. Welcome.
Michael, Jeannie, it's Stephen.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi, delightful to hear your voice.
Oh, good. It's good to hear you and Jeannie as always. Real quickly, we had our support group on Thursdays, and for all the people who are listening, just to give them a little insight on how it works on our end. And for you, I know you've done this thousands of times, but on Thursday night, we had a 58-year-old gentleman who brought his stepson in who was having severe problems for drug addiction, and this guy was just couldn't see it. He had no basis for understanding there was another way to think, and it was explaining issues in his life and how they didn't affect him, about his brother stealing from him, etc. And it's just so wonderful to have some people who came in with the same thoughts and the same feelings just a few months ago, and I always turn it over to them and say, can you explain to this gentleman why he doesn't have to feel this way? And I try to allow the person to explain it who's already gone through the first logical step of feeling that he can blame other people and not take responsibility. And it seems to be interesting on all parts, because it's not just me trying to explain it. It's somebody who's gone through the very basic steps and starting to understand it. And when he or she explains it to them, I think it gives them more reason to other people and get to you.
It is really awesome to watch people make that shift and move into a place where, of course, they're not finished their work, but they realize there's such a possibility as being at peace and living a sane life. It's pretty cool to give that to people, isn't it? Did we lose you, Stephen? Well, it appears we've lost Dr. Andraki. Well, thank you for your comments, and maybe try calling back in again. Your voice was fading in and out a little bit, but you seem to have disappeared altogether. I don't know if you're still on there. Jeannie, is his number still plugged in?
Stephen, if you just dialed back in, press 1. There he is. Yes, he's back on.
We lost you there for a second.
Sorry, it's just cell phone. You know all about that.
Yeah, we do.
So just my observations and just how we're finding this useful and how it's always interesting to get a newbie into the group and have the people who have at least participated in the past to try to explain to them in their own words on that there isn't a choice and an option. And I think that's a great place to start with. I know that there's so much advanced techniques that need to take place and so much work that has to take place, but I think it's been really great.
That's pretty awesome. Actually, one of the things that we're looking at doing, normally we'll do Why Is This Happening to Me Again, and then we'll go into one of the other workshops, but the power of a group of people working on worksheets is so awesome that we're actually considering making the second workshop in each series a worksheet session where we, as opposed to presenting the ideas, as we do in Why Is This Happening to Me Again in the workshop, then making the second session one where we actually take somebody and live walk them through a worksheet and show them how to process and how all the other issues that come up, under the download worksheet section on our website. The third radio show is one with a woman who has been doing the work for some time, and she called in doing a worksheet on herself, and we just walk her through that, but it's a really powerful show to listen to because it takes her through. I think she ends up with 12 separate worksheets out of that one and just kind of shows how to, drill down into those parts of the mind. And I know that, and maybe you're out there right now, excuse me, maybe Magda's out there right now listening, and if she is, maybe she'll call in and just share a little bit about what's happening because that session, I think, was one of the things that opened her to where for the first time after about 5 years of doing this work, she was willing to commit to 5 worksheets a day. And I know that just a day or two ago she texted me. I'm kind of her accountability partner, and she texted me to say that she'd finished her 5 and was in great resistance and now was in just total bliss, that she, overcame her resistance and went through it. And it's just awesome to watch how that whole process unfolds and how powerful it is. So, Dr. Stephen, we appreciate you being on the team and working with people there in Pahrump and in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's awesome that you're doing that within the context of a medical practice and supporting people in doing their own inner work. And it's amazing to watch the changes, isn't it?
Sure is, and we really appreciate having the knowledge and tools that you provided us, and we're just passing it along. And it's our highest hope to have them explain that to somebody else, that they just don't have to feel this way, because this guy had never heard anything like this before. That it's not normal. He said that's normal that you'd be angry and yell and not talk to your brother. That was his exact words. It's normal to feel this way, and this is crazy that people just don't know that there's a difference or they have a choice in the matter. Yeah, absolutely, and we'll be looking forward to our tour this upcoming season. When we leave Heartland, October, November. Not sure exactly when it will be. We're going to be heading west, so we'll look forward to scheduling and maybe helping to help folks build some more brain cells out in the Las Vegas area and take the work to another level.
I don't know if anything's happened with the drug court or the judge that we'd talked with, and or there was some conversation about getting it into the university system as a program. So maybe that's something we can plan on, seeing if we can move forward when we're out there. As the time unfolds, we're not really ready quite yet to schedule our time, but we're going to be moving in that direction. So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes together and what happens in that regard.
Well, the wheels are turning definitely towards getting the community involved in the what I have to offer, which is drug treatment. And this gives people an opportunity to come to learn this program instead of going to alternatives such as Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, or in addition to. And I think that everything is good, but it gives them a choice, and we're committed to continuing on with this program and offering people who have issues to come and learn and to deal with their issues, because it's clear, and you've mentioned it before, and it's clear when we talk to people that people who are using drugs, and in this case most of it is narcotics, that they're just trying to not deal with their problems. And I don't know how NA or AA works with dealing with their issues. I think that's a part of the program. But this takes every issue that they have that they want to work on and brings it front and center and allows them to work through it. And we found it to be very helpful for most people so far.
Well, I think that it fits hand in hand with the 12-step program and that fellowship. And the worksheet, as I see it, we actually did some comparisons with the 12 steps. And the worksheet really, in a way that you can talk to people in any kind of anonymous program, is that the worksheet is like doing an ongoing fourth step. And anybody that I know that's really into the 12-step program, the fourth step is one of the biggest and the key steps, and that is you do in their words, it's a fearless personal moral inventory. And when you start doing that inventory, the reality management worksheet really drills down into the parts of the mind that most people never see and never know how to inventory. So it fits perfectly in that regard, and so it'll be interesting. Jeannie has proposed and asked for support from one of her professors in her psychology program to set up and create a research program in Pahrump to work with that isolated community, and her professor has agreed to move forward. Actually, this was several months ago, and then that class finished, and he just kind of dropped out of sight, but she's now back in a class with this same professor who said that he would be interested in helping set it up and make it happen. So perhaps that's another thing we can create a vision of, that this journey, we really, with the type of unique community that Pahrump is, it would be really powerful to set up research to show what the introduction of these tools does to a whole community. And if we really blitz that community through every venue that we can, maybe doing some things with the media. I know there was a television station there that was pretty open that we did that one time, and to really blitz the community, if we can move through the drug court, through the churches, and of course through your medical centers, I think it would be awesome to really be able to document the changes from the point of view of drug abuse, child abuse, spousal abuse, just all of those parameters in a community. I think that in a period of 5 years we would see such a major upgrade in the community that it would get the whole country, the whole globe's attention. So that's part of the vision that I hold for the big city of Pahrump, Nevada.
Unlimited possibilities, and we're doing it one person at a time right now, and it's been over a year now, and look forward to when you and Jeannie come back and can do some intensives and do some additional work with us. I have some people attending the class who are looking for that as well. So we'll get them interested and hopefully prepared for the first steps so that you can take it further on when you come out. So it's a pleasure talking to you when I have the time to call, and I'll keep listening as often as I can.
Okay, we appreciate you and look forward to the next time we get to hug both you and Claudia's faces.
Thank you, Michael and Jeannie.
All right. Take care. It's a pleasure to share the plan.
Okay, we do have another caller, area code. Well, they disappeared again. There. Okay, we've got one more, area code 517. You're on the air.
Yeah, and 517. Before we say anything, I just Stephen, I just really want to appreciate or speak of my appreciation for what you're doing and how actually it has me on the verge of tears just to watch what you're doing and how you're touching people's lives and how everybody that's working with the work. I don't know if that's Rex coming on with 417, but with what Rex is doing in Lansing, Michigan, with what Julie is doing out in the western states. She's been in California and up in Oregon, and then I watch what Julie Haverstick's doing with people all over the country, and David, and folks in Nashville, and it's just awesome to watch how everybody jumps in, and once they get it, becomes such a powerful expression of a human life, and how relatively rare that is on the planet. So thank you. So 517, who are we talking to? Where are you calling from? I know it's Lansing area, but
Yep.
Is this Adam or is
Nope, this is Tony.
Tony, welcome
Hi.
to the show.
Hi, I just wanted to share insight I had this weekend, inspired by your conversation with Dale on Friday.
Awesome. Wasn't that a great show?
Yeah, it was really good. I've been enjoying those Friday shows, the Aramaic Fridays, really quite a bit.
Well, we'll have to let Dale know that how much we appreciate it, and we initially just made the commitment for the month of March, but hopefully we'll keep moving forward with that, and we'll make Aramaic Fridays a regular feature of the show. So
yeah, and I feel like they're a good way to introduce people to the work too. I've recommended people listening to the Friday shows too. So, but he was talking about still point breathing quite a bit on this past Friday, and I've done still point sessions with Rex, and that has been huge with me understanding this work from an experiential place, and I have done my own still point breathing. If I'm working on worksheets and it gets to a place where I feel like I can just go right into a still point breathing on my own, I've done that in the past, but it's not quite the same as doing it with Rex. But what I found this weekend, I decided to do the still point breathing while I was working on 5 worksheets, and I did it with my eyes open while I was working on it, and it was really pretty powerful to do it.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I just never tried it that way, with my eyes open and working on the worksheet. And I just thought it would be something to share with other people who've done the still point breathing and bringing it into actually working on the worksheets, because it was really powerful. What it did for me is just it took away a lot of the resistance. So I moved through the worksheets easier. It was I don't know how to explain it, but it was strong. So I just wanted to share that. And
cool.
And another thing, I think I listened to an earlier recording where Jeannie had talked about doing worksheets on positive things.
Right.
And I just wanted to share that that's been something I've been doing too, and that's pretty powerful too. I've noticed doing the worksheets a lot of times when you get to the goal, I've noticed that I'll have opposite goals at the same time.
Yep. That's what keeps us in confusion.
Yep, and like I did one on envy, and one of my goals was to be better than the other person, but at the same time, my goal was also to have the other person be better than me, and there were certain things. But anyway, I just wanted to share those two things. That I've been really appreciating your shows quite a bit. I mean, it's just so cool to have this on a daily basis, really keeping me in the work. I've been using your work since 2004, but just having your radio show just helps keep it in my daily routine. And
Keep it
I
fresh.
really appreciate it. Yes, keeps it fresh.
Well, that's awesome, and we appreciate you're giving us those insights. And my feedback on the breath while you're doing the worksheet, of course, you look through the worksheet and there are several reminders to breathe at the salient points where most people hold their breath. There's actually a piece that Jeannie likes to share about the breath, and I think this is the real key to why the breath is such an important thing. And Jeannie, you want to share what you share in the breath workshop about the workshop you went to with the Hebrew man?
Yeah. I took a whole bunch of teenagers to a youth conference a few years back, and one of the speakers was Jewish, and he said that in their native language that the name for God was unpronounceable. It was like the breath. And he said, so when we're born, are we alive because we've taken our first breath or because we first spoke God's name? And if we die, is it because we've taken our last breath or because we quit speaking God's name? And that has just always stuck with me. I just thought that was so profound because it says that the Creator put into us the breath of life. And so when we hold our breath, we're actually cutting off our own life and initiating a death. And so when we breathe, especially the deep breathing that goes through the whole system, then we're actually inviting God into our whole system to help clean it out.
And, of course, when we're holding the breath, and in the Aramaic language, the word Satan is not an uppercase word like some dude that's out to get us, but it's a lowercase word, and it means the resistor, one who misleads. And when one holds one's breath, literally that's the way to create a resistor. Just like, if you've got a television circuit and you put a resistor in it, it changes the energetic flow in that part of the system. So let's say if you're fixing a piece of electronic equipment and it calls for a 10-ohm resistor, and ohms are a measure of resistance, and you just don't happen to have one, so you put in a 30-ohm resistor, all of a sudden the whole circuitry changes. Everything shifts, and it just doesn't function the same way. And when we go into that resistance, that is holding the breath, we literally shut down the flow of information in the system. And when we're fully connected, but in the Aramaic, it doesn't say, as the Greeks translated, that God sent out His Spirit, and it's some kind of disembodied spirit being, Holy Spirit, but rather whole breath. It's the connected whole breath that keeps us linked to that energetic power supply that is called the Creator, in which we live, move, and have our being. And, there's a whole theological belief about that, but if you drop the theology of it and you just look at, we have a power supply, this energetic system, and we connect to it by connecting our breath. Is there any device that anybody in the world has got that works properly when it's not plugged into its proper power supply? We had somebody the other day in a workshop say, well, I have a gun. I said, yeah, and if you don't have a bullet in it with the proper power supply, the right powder, the gun might blow up or the gun won't fire. Another guy said, well, I have a hammer. I said, well, yeah, and the hammer laying there on the floor or on the bench can't do a thing. It's got a power. You got to pick it up in your hand and you got to power it. It's got to have a proper power supply. Our power supply, our plug-in to the source, is the breath. When we unplug, we're in trouble. So you pegged it exactly correctly when you say, gee, as I'm breathing through the process while I'm doing a worksheet, I see my resistance going, because the resistance is built into the structure by holding the breath. And most of us have a genetic history of people who've held their breath most of their lives. And people who subventilate in just amazing ways. And there's kind of a double offense that happens there, because when we hold our breath, we not only unplug, but also part of the breath, the out-breath, removes carbon dioxide from the system. And people who hold their breath get a buildup of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is an acidic gas that, when it is absorbed into the fluids of the body, make the fluids of the body more acidic, and it drives out oxygen. So the cell runs at a lower potential. It doesn't function the same way. So, when you look at how the whole system, the whole thing is connected and operates, it's just, it's pretty awesome. And the power supply, without question, is the breath. I remember one fellow that we worked with who we had some challenges getting into the breath, and he'll know who he is if he happens to be listening. And we actually did some pretty intense work to get past that resistance. And this fellow in a breath session was just going right on the very edge of still point, and he had set his cell phone to go off. An alarm went off, and literally, and here's how powerful our resistance can be, literally to the second that he's just right on the edge of going into still point, his cell phone alarm goes off. Now, of course, you know who you are without mentioning any names. But anyway, we can play with these ideas too. So it's delightful to have you with us, and we're glad that the work is supporting you and serving you as it is. And one of the requests we have in the way of supporting us is that you pass it on to somebody else. And, of course, there's always, with the way we travel and teach, with our workshops being free, the radio show being freely open, with our teaching center, with all the things that we do, though we do our work when we travel free, we haven't figured out yet how to do it for nothing, because everybody has expenses. So if somebody's benefiting from the work, we invite you to jump on our website. There's a donate button and donate. Even if it's $1 or $2 or $5, but something to support and to assist us. When we travel like we do, we pay all of our own expenses, and the workshops are done free, except for that one Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing. There is a fee to that, but otherwise they're all done freely in order that they're available to people whether they have money or not. So one of the ways you can give it back is to assist us in expanding the work. Each year we normally try to take the work to another country, to open a new country. And with the way the economy's been the last 3 or 4 years, we're actually scheduled. We have had a trip scheduled to Spain this year. We were going to open Spain up. And just the way the economy's been the last 3 or 4 years, and the way that donations and sales and intensives have been, there just wasn't the money to open Spain, so we canceled that trip. So you can assist us in expanding the work and bringing it to more and more people, more and more cultures. The book is in process of being translated into Arabic. There's an attorney actually in Palestine that's working on that. It's been translated into the Iranian common language, Farsi. It's in Swedish, although the Swedish version of the book is not on the website. It's our policy that each new translation goes on the website free, so that whether people have money or not, they can download it. But the Swedish publisher wouldn't go along with that. They felt like it would cost them money to do that. Kind of a short-sighted view, but we do have a Swedish translation. It's available, a hardback book, but you have to buy the book. It's not free on the website, but we've got English, German, Russian, Spanish, Farsi, and several other translations that are underway. So it's awesome to be able to see how this is just kind of spidering its way out into the globe and moving to every corner of the globe. So our calling number is 646-200-4169. If you have a comment, question, thought, support you need, we would appreciate hearing your sweet voice and being of whatever support we can be in your process. Gene, do we have anything happening in the chat room? Anything online?
No, David is now on the phone with us.
Well, welcome, David. How do you be, sir?
I'm doing very well, Michael. Nice show going on. Glad to hear that people are getting the value from the show. And it is, as the one caller said, nice that people have the support each day to be able to tap into an additional understanding, to add to the brain, building the brain cells of it. So it's cool.
And David is packing up as we speak, and Julie are packing up things at Heartland to make the journey to Florida in April 6th. We'll actually start a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive. It's a residential intensive. We've rented a facility right on the water in Palm Coast. It's on the Intercoastal with a nice dock on it. We've got a really awesome space there. And so we'll be doing a 9-day intensive, and actually that intensive is full, so it filled up within just a few days of scheduling it. And so we've scheduled a second 9-day intensive that will start on the 14th of April and go through the 22nd. And right now, I believe there's one space in that. We actually had someone who transferred to a summer intensive and dropped out, and then someone else who came into the workshop. I think we've got one space left in that intensive, and it'll be for a male. The way the rooms are laid out, we've got room for one male participant in that intensive. So if you happen to be that male that is ready to do another level of work, to step into the space of cranking up the energy, we'll do a total fresh and raw Heartland dietary regimen during the intensive. The food is absolutely awesome. And we'll do actually a whole series. We'll do Why Is This Happening to Me Again, Healing to Relationships, Communication. Did you hear what I think I said? Empowered to Heal, Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment. Hands-on energy field work training, mind shifter, still point breathing. And we'll actually be sewing in some codependence work in that second intensive as well. So there's lots happening during that particular workshop. So if anybody is interested, it's going to be 9 days from the 14th to the 22nd of April. And we're actually kind of hanging out with the idea of maybe even scheduling a third intensive. We're kind of waiting to see what our response is like from folks with what's happening at this moment. And we may even schedule a third one while here in Florida. So, and it seems that our timing is kind of changing around a little bit with from the way we used to do things, and that is that all of our intensives were done at Heartland, and it seems like people are not traveling nearly as much, but still want to jump in and do the work. So when we travel west next year, we may do some intensive workshops, residential, such as this, if we can find facilities. So if you're in an area that you want us to come, we'd be delighted. Again, we pay our own expenses. Our workshops are free. So if you have a venue you'd like us to present in, we're going to be heading west and up the west coast up into the northwest this year, and then probably back around through Colorado. We've been talking with Carrie in Colorado about perhaps doing an intensive when we're there. So lots of possibilities for this next year, and we're looking forward to seeing how that all unfolds. Our calling number, 646-200-4169. We'd be delighted to support you. And, of course, our intensive, we started right into the call, so I didn't talk about the Memorial Day honoring process, but we really, truly honor those people who've been forced to engage in the insanity of war. And we actually have a friend, and you've heard him, he's been on the show, Michael, who was on just a few weeks ago and talked about how when he came back from his military training, there wasn't much stimulus around, and he'd go trolling in crack neighborhoods, hoping somebody would attack him so that he'd have a reason to anesthetize himself with that hostility, and how finding this work, he's actually been shifting and changing that. And he had shared with us that he went to see a movie called Act of Valor, which is pretty powerful in terms of what's going on our planet. And, Michael's conversation with me personally has been the resistance to, we need to have, if we're going to have a peaceful place, we need to have somebody with a big stick standing behind the peaceful person to protect them. And my input has been, that looks logical from within the context of that whole belief system. But when you recognize yourself as a creator, creatorship means that whatever you hold on to, out of that energy, you create a result. So somebody standing around with a big stick is an energetic invitation for somebody to show up and try to take on the person with the big stick. And watching this movie, Act of Valor, which is exactly the kind of operations that Michael was involved in, he shared with us how, it was just like, being at home, watching that movie. It's like, oh, yeah, this feels good. This is cool. And how it all looks logical from within the framework of the way the world sits right now. One of the questions that came up for me as I watched this movie, and, they're going after these narco-terrorists. But then, one of the biggest thoughts that came to me was, well, what about that fellow Secord and his whole group that really created in America U.S. military people who created the the demand for these drugs that now have led to narco-terrorism. So here we have a group of people who, in order to fund their insane military activities and taking over country after country after country, funded by bringing drugs into America and hook whole communities on drugs. And then, it's really interesting. One of the guys out of that group, without mentioning a name, one of those guys in many so-called Christian circles, you walk into so-called Christian bookstores, and this guy is held up as some kind of a hero, a criminal who was found to be importing drugs into America and using the money from those drugs to fight illegal wars, is now a hero inside of a teaching, for some people with a perspective on it, inside of a teaching that says, love those who hate you, do good to those who despitefully use you. How bizarre is that? And sadly, it's incomplete in its understanding. And so from within a system, you look at that act of valor, and it's being trained and having the brain cells. I even found myself, as I'm watching this movie, and these guys are taking out the bad guys, these good guys taking out the bad guys, it's like, it's almost hard to resist the desire to let your chest swell a little bit in pride over look at how great this is. But then when you look at cause and what creates it, the whole thing is frickin' insane. And, in the same way that I'm sure that, when you believed in the god Pele who lived inside the volcanic mountain and would come up and destroy whole communities, it looked logical in that system to pick the sweetest, prettiest, most intelligent virgin and throw her in the volcano to keep Pele quiet. I mean, that was a logical thing within that belief system. But the belief system is freaking insane. It is a logical thing to take the young men and the young women of our culture and say, now we're going to train you to become killers. We're going to call you heroes, and we're going to send you out to take something from somebody that we want. Of course, we'll create a Black Ops cover story, and it won't be about taking something from somebody that we want. It'll be about protecting us from the aggressor. Look at the whole structure of the thing, not just the face that's shown and you see the insanity. It's time for us, folks, to function as human beings. If you don't know how to function as a human being, if you live in some form of hostility or fear, as Dr. Andraki was just saying, this person that came into the support group and said, well, it's normal to be angry and rage at your brother and then not talk to your brother, isn't it? Well, hold a newborn child. Just imagine holding a newborn. We ask everyone who enters our workshops, how do you describe your newborn? And it is this awesome active presence of love from within the belief system of a newborn. Someone who hasn't been brainwashed with all the crazy, convoluted thinking of our cultures. Do you think that a newborn could look at its brother and yell and rage and say, I'm never going to talk to you again? A newborn couldn't do that. There's actually a powerful picture of this set of twins and these newborns, and one of them was severely underweight, and the doctors were sure that this child would die. And they almost gave up on it. And its twin started to reach out to it And as it started to reach out to the twin and touch and hold and be close to its twin, the child that was in the process of dying strengthened and became healthy. It didn't become healthy because somebody gave it medicine. It became healthy because it was touched and nurtured and loved. That's what humans do. Non-human life kills. Non-human life is brainwashed and programmed in hostility and fear and rage and grief and pain and projection and blaming everybody else for what's going on inside of them. One of my favorite tongue-in-cheek lines is the one where I say, if they're the one with the problem, why are you the one with the pain? If you're in pain, you do aberrant behavior. You do crazy things. A newborn could never do those crazy things. If you're in pain, excuse me, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your spouse, your child, your neighbor, your coworker is not the cause of your pain. The cause of your pain is the fact that you hold within yourself that pain. Now, once somebody triggers that pain, your trickster, your body's mind, will make up pictures about how the pain is all about what they did. And the pain is never about what they did. The pain is about the content of your own physiology. And so the work of Yeshua is to become responsible for and remove the root of the pain so that we get back to experiencing a human life. Guess what? That's going to put an end to war on planet Earth. And what we're here to do is to put an end to war on planet Earth, to literally wake up and function once again as human beings in all of our relationships, to put an end to this game of there's an enemy out there and the enemy's the one who's responsible for our pain, but rather to step in and become responsible for our pain and to move through to the other side of it. And if you live within a belief system that that's impossible, I invite you to at least suspend that disbelief long enough to investigate. Now, I find an error, throw me away. Throw it out, forget it. But at least give yourself the chance of looking at that as a possibility. And what you'll find is when you start putting the pen to the paper sincerely with that forgiveness, the reality management worksheet process, you're going to see the truth of what we're saying. Now, if you want to find the process, if you go to our website, whyagain.com, on the right-hand side there's a link that says Download Worksheets. It's about the 6th link down. Click on that link, and under that section there are 7 links. Those 7 links, the first one will give you Chapter 24 of my book. It'll give you the latest worksheet, and it'll give you 4 different radio shows where we've actually walked someone through the forgiveness process. Put the pen to the paper. Watch the magnificent shifts that happen. Watch as you drill down at some of the craziness you get in touch with within yourself. And then see the power of bringing your human life forward and processing through those things. It's absolutely awesome. And it creates a whole new understanding of the way the world works. And what we're here to do, literally, is put an end to war. You put an end to war by putting an end to the reason for war. The reason for war is that someone holds pain, suffering, that they're unwilling to be responsible for and unwilling to forgive. That pain and suffering leads to disconnection. It leads to separation. It leads to poverty, the poverty mindset that says I have to go steal something from somebody else in order to have enough. When you start forgiving, all of that changes. Any comments in the chat room or any other callers?
We do have 2 callers. So the first one is area code 970. You're on the air.
Hey, Jeannie and Michael, it's Carrie in Colorado.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi. I just wanted to let you guys know last night I watched Circle of Life and How to Live It. Is that the right name of the DVD that you put out?
Circle of Life and How to Play It. That's a fun workshop, isn't it?
The Circle of Life and How to Play It. Right? It is incredible. It is so good. I was just, wow, all the way through. And I loved it. And a family who I'm very close to has a lot of kind of polarization turmoil going on right now, and some of the family members have reached out to me, and I just recommended that video to them. I thought it's such a really great explanation of so many of the dynamics that can take place. And just called to say thank you and to recommend it, if anybody has, it's just a really, really graphic way to see the kind of polarizations we can go into. And I was just having some sort of polarized feelings, of course, as I turned it on, and just got them completely turned around. It was just very, very, very good. And just wanted to say thank you.
Cool. Yeah, it's actually a workshop I need to spend about another 100 hours on to complete so that we can create a poster of the upper and lower paths from that workshop. I actually started to develop that. It actually came out of the work with Laws of Living on the intensives that we teach, and I started working on that workshop about 25 years ago, and it's kind of like coming to the point where it's pretty close to completion, but so many things on the plate that it isn't actually finished to become a poster as yet. But we're working on it.
Even just that DVD is really, really brilliant, and you can see that it has been developed to a great depth. I mean, that's obvious, and so I would just highly recommend it to anybody who's, I just think it's really a great piece of work as far as all of this work goes, and really offers a tremendous amount of deeper understanding as to the dynamics that that occur in our lives every day, and until we become more conscious of how to shift those. And it has such a great explanation of if you're on the lower path, you're in this state, and if you're on the higher path, you're in this state. And it's just such a great way to learn how to access, to see where you are, and then to kind of access those different parts. And I just really loved it. Just really phenomenal. So very good.
Very cool. Well, thank you for the acknowledgement, and keep passing it on. That's part of the idea.
Will do. Yeah, I've actually recommended it to these family members, and I think I'm going to start using the DVDs and doing a weekly meeting of Mind Shifters here locally. So I'm excited about that too. I'm going to take the next step.
Fabulous. How far are you from Denver?
I'm about 90 miles from Denver.
Oh, okay.
I'm right outside of Colorado Springs.
Right. The last couple of weeks, we've had 2 or 3 people from Mile High Church in Denver saying that we really needed to go there. That is a group that would really appreciate what we're doing, and so that may develop. We've suggested. We've actually had, I think, 2 or 3 different people who've suggested that to us, and so if they're speaking to them, we've put out. It's not something we don't go searching for or asking for places to speak. But if someone invites us, then we will fill in that blank. So if you know anybody connected with Mile High and give them a call, they get enough energy moving, then we'll probably get an invitation there, and that'll put us in that arena. And one of my thoughts was that perhaps we will set up, later, probably the return journey from on into the later winter or early spring. That will maybe do an intensive in Colorado and just see how that comes together.
Nice. I'm going to make some jaunts up that way to Denver and Boulder in the next few weeks, and I'll see if I can touch base up there. And I haven't really even checked in with the Unity churches here yet, but I'll do that at some point because I'm in a little town just outside of Colorado Springs, so I've been kind of more in my local area. But I'll definitely put some feelers out in the area.
Awesome. Very cool.
Okay, well, have a wonderful day, and the intensive sounds like it'll be really, really neat. I just was on the phone with Shannon yesterday and a friend of hers doing an iridology reading, and just really, it'll be a beautiful place. I think anybody who ends up at that is going to be a fabulous experience. So, thanks, you guys, and many blessings, and we'll keep you posted.
All right, take care and blessings. We appreciate you. By the way, your book, on super immunity secrets is becoming quite popular on our tape table. So we'll let you know as the inventory drops. For those who might not know who Carrie is, Carrie Ellis is the author of Super Immunity Secrets. It's a book that we started carrying just a short time ago, and it's about strengthening your immune system, and it's available on Amazon. It's available on Carrie's website, which is carrieellis.com, and of course it's also available through us. So I think you've got it, and maybe Carrie's gone now, but I think she has it as an ebook too. So anyway, very cool.
All right, and we have another caller.
Awesome.
And it's area code 541. You're on the air.
Hey, this is Julie from Ashland, Oregon, the one on the West Coast.
I do.
Julie from Ashland, Oregon, the one on the West Coast, who's doing her 2 worksheets every day religiously, right?
Well, it depends on how long a day is.
It's like the creator, the creator's mind. The day is 1,000 years, so you're getting your 2 done a day, are you?
Yeah, you got it. But I am so walking in the talk. I mean, I'm not apart from it. But I am going to do a worksheet on. I just got today on keeping commitments. I don't keep my commitments, and I preach about it. I know it's a good thing. So I looked just quickly in my past and in my family. Nobody kept agreements. So that's where I learned it this time around, and I will be looking at that more. But you go ahead, but I do have a reason I called that I keep forgetting every time I call. So, hello?
Go for it. What you got in mind?
Okay. Yeah. On Aramaic Fridays, I love them. Also, I would love to see that continue. It's like the school I never got to go to. All of this work is like the school finally has arrived. And I want, as a teacher, I'm a teacher of music. I teach an instrument, the piano. And over the years, having learned the instrument and observing what it takes to teach it and for others to learn it, I know that there are direct pathways that develop from the brain to the hands, to the fingertips, that open an avenue for the being to fully express and intentionally use that power. And I'm thinking that what it's directly accessing is the implant that God put in us to waken and be the being we are. And I know when a musician has mastered a piece, it's the being that's directing it. It is not the apparatus. It's not the body. And the memory cells are the brain cells are built up such that the information is in the brain, but the director is the master being. So reason I bring that up is because I know that there's a direct link that needs to be cultivated in us. And another one that goes along with that is writing, actual handwriting. And you talk a lot on Aramaic Friday, one of the shows, about education and how this knowledge has been subtracted and extracted and hidden from us. And I think there's another one going on right now that people should be aware of, and that is the art, and direct access to who we are of handwriting and penmanship. It's not being taught in schools anymore. Instead, computers and keypads are how people communicate, texting, email, and I really feel that it's a good tool, but if it's used to dissociate rather than to really connect, I'm a little concerned that people are going to lose that connection if they don't know how to handwrite. And doing the worksheets is all handwritten. And that's part of what's going on, I believe. And I've heard people say, I'm just going to do it online, I'm just going to do it on my computer. But it's almost a bypass when it's done that way. So I gave my background because I know what it's like to really develop a lot of pathways to this place in our minds that is the director. And so I would love if you and Dale would maybe address that a little bit about the art of penmanship, perhaps.
Well, a couple of things in that regard. Of course, when you teach someone the piano, what is one of the first things? Let's say, for instance, when you present them with a new piece or a new skill, what is one of the first things that you suggest as a teacher that they do?
Well, the two foremost things are identifying the notes. So it's the what, and then the which fingers are going to play those notes. So that's called getting it into their hands.
So how do people get it into their hands?
Thoughts, information that I give them that they have to
So they come to your class, you give them the information, now they've got the thoughts. How do they get it into their hands?
Oh, the word is practice.
Practice. Oh,
yeah.
You mean like doing worksheets kind of thing? Practice?
I know. I said I'm a hypocrite. I know. I said
so
I cheat. I know.
As a teacher, one of the first things you say to your student is, if you're going to keep working with me, you're going to have to practice. How many days of the week do you suggest they practice?
I give them 2 days off. I say 5.
5.
Actually, I have a way that's actually a more tailor-fit formula where the initial practice is the hardest, and then as it becomes familiar, you just keep in touch with it. But yeah.
But have you ever seen a student who becomes proficient at playing a particular piece or whatever that doesn't practice?
No, that's wishful thinking. That's magic. It doesn't
there
work.
You go. So I rest my case. At least 2 worksheets a day.
Yes. Okay.
Are you willing to practice? Are you willing to practice? Are you willing to practice? I know we just keep going round robin on this one, but anyway, I couldn't resist. You set it up, and the other thing about the handwriting, and I don't know whether Julie might be listening to the show or not, but Julie is a school teacher, Julie Haverstick, who wrote the book Healing Children, Loving Children that we carry, and Julie actually created a method of handwriting called the Haverstick method.
Oh wow!
And it is a whole different way of teaching children to write so that penmanship becomes a pleasure rather than something where you get this teacher who comes down on you that says you did it wrong and you're outside the lines or you're inside the lines or blah, blah, blah. So maybe, Julie, if you're listening, you might want to call in and maybe share a little bit about the Haverstick method and what she does with that. Are you there, Julie?
Julie is on.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm on. Hey. Yes.
Hey there, Julie Haverstick, the author of Healing Children, Loving Children, and the Haverstick Method. Share with us a little bit of your thought, your thinking about our conversation about handwriting.
I agree with everything she said. Handwriting is a natural way of expression, and I believe that we have lost some of that because of all the disciplines. And when I was teaching it in class in first grade and in kindergarten, they naturally would write without adding all the extra stress of those disciplines. And my book is about, the natural way that a child prints. And once they learn how to print that way, then they can read. And, of course, taking that together, you can then do the cursive writing. So I agree with everything she said. In fact, maybe, Michael, it would be a good idea for you to start carrying the book. I would really like that support.
Okay. We're open to doing that. I think that would be cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
I get 60 seconds. So Julie, instead of us doing the outro, why don't you go ahead and take the next 60 seconds and just talk a little bit more about it, and we'll skip the outro and you'll close out the show. It'll be about 50 seconds now.
Okay. Well, this is what I've taught the child to do to reduce their stress is to allow them to write from, they push away naturally, and as they push away, they can form their letters so much more easily, and their stress is extremely reduced. And they are able to write probably, instead of taking them months, they are able to write in probably about a week. They can start to form letters. They can start to see their creativity happening right in front of them. And it's so much easier, and it's so much more fun. And truly, I would love to have it get out there. And so, thank you for the opportunity to speak on the show.
All right, and maybe this is something we could do a show around, and I find this complete. Bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Blessings. Have the best year yet of your eternal life. Bye-bye.